Hey, welcome to another Boulevard Paper Fight video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I decided to kind of go over something as I would if it was an article. I've done a lot of articles in the past, but as of late I find myself gravitating towards the visual medium, more specifically in video. And I just wanted to take these two decks here, which I opened this past weekend during a Mass Mutation sealed release tournament. Yes, we finally got to do one of those. And it was two decks sealed, and these are the two decks I opened. And something happened when I opened these that I want to bring up in terms of my deck evaluation. I just want to discuss it. So I would like to actually do a deep dive on this deck right here. And this deck right here is the one I played. So I'm going to go into this in more detail when I get to that, using this new format that I've been kind of evolving and adapting to based on some community feedback. Doug from Twitter, as well as Steve and Andrew, who regularly comment on my YouTube videos here, have given me a lot of great feedback, as well as what will be advantageous for the community and people get the most out of. So I plan on doing that, and I'm just working on the logistics. So this deck will probably be the first one, a part of that, which is kind of do a deep dive on a deck. Now, evaluating these two decks, this deck was the better one both in SAS rating and if you actually look at the cards. And the main reason being was, just going to do a quick, you're just going to see these quick, not going into a deep dive yet. Well, it had Master of the Gray, but it had this really awesome ability to use Captured Ember, and it has Saurus Wreck and Baracus, and then it had some fun burst stuff in the Untamed, having a Key Frog, having Reclaimed by Nature, and Commune, stuff like that. And so it had the burst potential, as well as I thought the Sanctum Saurian strength that you may be looking for. So that's why I chose this deck in the end. But something happened that I want to take note of. So this is the actual deck that we're going to be talking about today. And this is the one that I almost chose this one. And the reason being is it happens to have some really great things. It has a board wipe, which is always good. Lots of removal. Capture, Ember, different ways of doing key control. Again, another board removal. And then in the Star Alliance, again, a lot of ways to deal with the board, which honestly, in hindsight, this might have been a better deck based on that factor, but I didn't think it had the cool tricks that the other one had. See, it has all this cool stuff here. It has a Maverick Niffle Ape, but it has Niffle Kong. So it had an Exchange Officer, which is one of the chase cards, I think, in the set. It provides something really neat and cool that is unique to KeyForge. But the real thing is that this deck happened to have a Fangtooth Cavern plus 3 Niffle Apes, one being in an opposite house. But then it had Niffle Kong. This is my first Niffle Kong deck, my second Gigantic deck. And what this made me realize was when I saw the Niffle Kong and I saw the Exchange Officer, those are two cards I had not opened yet, and things that I thought were really neat within the realm of KeyForge. And you instantly get this kind of emotional draw towards these cards where you want to pick that because it's something new and exciting. You have not played it before. You've never tried it out. It's things that people want and are going after. So it adds that sense of incentive. And I just wanted to basically talk about that concept. So with that being said, how do you feel about things like that? Have you been in a situation where you have to choose between decks and you have an emotional pull to a deck? And that's what I'm just trying to, discuss further, go in depth, think about this. Like, as a casual player or as someone who does not play on the utmost top tier of competitive, when you get something that's fun and exciting, you may not be driven to necessarily choose a deck based on how good it is, but sometimes there is, oh, this looks a lot of fun, I've never gotten to play this before, this seems like an awesome setting to test it. Now, when you're playing in a tournament, there might be something on the line that you want. Does that mean you have to put that emotional feeling aside and start looking more objectively at the situation of what is available and what you should be playing as a result? And that's just something that I came to because I almost chose this deck based on that because it had Niffle Kong, and that's something you want to chase, something you're interested in trying out. But ultimately, I wanted to go for glory in the tournament, which I did not receive. There were quite a few spicy decks out there. I did come in fourth, and yeah, this deck ended up pulling it out, which I'll go into in depth of why I chose this because I actually think this deck has a lot of potential in general moving forward. It's got a upper 60s, like almost 70 SAS. which doesn't really mean anything to me at this point in time for the most part. But when I was faced with this moment of having to choose between two decks, and there was something unique and interesting in a deck, it made the choice difficult, not for the reasons you normally do. Like, normally if you look at two decks, you're like, oh, this one clearly has way more of the things you look for in a deck when playing in a tournament, I'm going to choose this one. This one provided the thing where this has something I've been after and want to play because I think it's fun and it has a really strong impact when it happens, and made me almost choose it. And it felt weird saying no to that feeling, because that was a feeling of fun and doing what's right. Now, on the flip side, the one good thing was I have not played a really spicy Sanctum and Saurian deck before. I have not opened any that fit that category. I think of even having these two houses together in that way, especially with something like the Baracus with all the capture. So that made me really, really into this deck as well, as a side note. So they both provided those elements of, wow, this is neat, I really want to try this out. But the Niflkong is ultimately more because there's also the I guess the social aspect to it, where it's not something that is readily available and everyone can achieve and get. Granted, there were two Niflkong decks in our tournament, and the other guy who opened it, he actually did play his Niflkong deck for all the emotional reasons I just stated of why you would be drawn to do that. So I just want to kind of put this out there in a video format and wonder if you have been in a similar situation before you're having to choose between decks, and you ultimately ended up going with the one that felt more like the fun and emotional choice because it had some neat chase cards like this Niflkong right here. So let me know your thoughts on this. Tell me what you think. Have you been in this position before? Have you had to make a decision based on emotion or on what you thought was the smart choice? So that's going to conclude today's video. Coming up after this will be the new version of a deep dive with a deck. So I have played this deck a bunch of times, and I will play a game with it on TCO as well after we do it, so you can see it in action and try and come up with this further dive into the world of a KeyForge deck and the strength of it, also known as strength of the pack. Hope you enjoyed this. Please do like and subscribe. And please share this with other people if you think they could get something out of videos that I've been doing. I would really appreciate that more than anything else. So, as always, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.